Hey everybody, today we're doing some thermal paste. I got these 3GB 3060 Ti's that just run way hotter than the other two that are in the rig. The other two are the Founders, and these probably run 10 degrees hotter. So, gonna be swapping out thermal paste. See how it goes. Well, that was a pain. Ended up having to pull the whole plug itself off of there. So the plug's there, and it's just the actual posts sticking out of the GPU for the LEDs. But hey, it's a part. I got room to work. Probably use some new thermal pads, but I didn't get any. Kind of an unplanned project. So I'm trying to find some small washers to fit in here, just to kind of help these little spring screws tighten down just a little bit more, just to make sure it makes good contact. I usually add them whenever I do this type of project, but all the washers I have had all this junk. I only had 3. I need 12 to do this, if not more. I would like to put 2 of them there. There's little paper ones. They're pretty thin, but gonna keep searching. Hopefully I can find some more washers just to make sure it's a nice tight fit in there. And at this point, I got them into the rig and realized that it had no change. So I slept on it for the night and realized that the fans don't spin that fast on these guys. So now we're going to start the real video. Here we go. Hey everybody, I'm going through and doing some BIOS flashing. I got 3 of these 3060 Ti Eagles, 2 of them in the overclock, one is just the regular. I did flash the regular with the overclock BIOS just to get everything to match up right, so all the overclocks were the same and stuff like that. Didn't have any issues there, but I added this rig. It's a 5-card 3060 Ti rig to the hotbox, and the 2 Founders editions temps were great, but on these Eagles they were terrible, so I redid the thermal paste, still terrible. So then it got me looking at fan speeds. The Founders editions have like 2700 RPM at 75%, and the Eagle's only running at 1300 RPM at 75%. So that led me down thinking the fans just aren't spinning quick enough. I tried flashing the Founders edition BIOS to these, and it just wouldn't take with NV Flash. So then I tried the Palit 360 Ti, and it actually took. And I got that here. So now the fans are running at 2500 RPM at 75%. So pretty close to what the Founders edition are running at now. So even just starting up this rig here, you can see this third one here is the flashed Palit BIOS. The last 3 are the Eagle, the first 2 are the Founders, and the Founders have been sitting at 60, 61 after a couple hours of mining, and these guys were creeping up into the 70s, all 3 of these initially. But with the new BIOS now, it's sitting closer to what the Founders are sitting at now that the fan speeds are the same. So I'm going to end up flashing these other 2 today, finishing this project off. Before we start today, I just want to remind everybody that flashing your BIOS could absolutely destroy your GPU. You could have a very expensive brick if you screw this up. I'm not recommending it, just showing you what I did. If you do it, you're responsible for screwing up your own stuff. Don't take my word for it. Research what you're doing, how this all works. But I've flashed different BIOS on all my 1070s. I used the Seahawk BIOS for all of them to get a faster fan speed. So that's what we're going to be going through today. So now you can see the third one is an Eagle with the Palit BIOS on it. So we're going to flash these other 2. So I'm going to start with NV Flash. I always throw it to my C drive. I have my notes in here as well for this type of stuff. I'm going to run this as administrator. Start by changing the directory to the NV Flash directory. And I'm going to list them out so I know exactly who's who. And here they start with 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1 through 5. The Palit version I'm using is the dual OC for the Eagles. I've already got it saved in my NV Flash folder. So I already did index 2, which is GPU 3. So now I'm going to change this to index 3 and give it a copy. Let that run. Press yes to continue. Yes again. Alright, that one is done, so now I'm going to do the second one. So now we're going to do index 4. Press Y to continue. Press Y to confirm. Again, this is super dangerous, guys, so don't go doing all your cards without testing one. Usually NV Flash will warn you and won't let you do something too stupid, but I did do a 2060 Super with the Palit BIOS, and it actually bricked the card. I couldn't boot into Windows with it installed. I had to boot into safe mode, and as quick as possible, I had to update the BIOS immediately before it updated the driver. As soon as it loaded the driver for Windows, it would just crash the computer. So I was able to save it, but it can happen. So don't do this, break something, blame me. This is all on you guys. This is for educational purposes only. Be careful. Alright, so all the updates are done. Gonna do a reboot. Alright, we're coming back from a reboot. I'm gonna make sure that Windows is loading all the drivers. You'll know when it's done updating drivers once you actually see them in the task manager here. So since it's done loading drivers, I'm gonna give it one more reboot just to make sure. Alright, we're through our second reboot. So I'm going to jump back over to Awesome Miner. Going to go to my GPU clocking. Going to apply my pre-saved profile. They all look good. And start mining. So far, so good. Even at 100% in the hotbox with these 3 eagles, they were just instantly getting up to 70 degrees. So now they're actually right there with the founders. There we go. We saved some eagles from overheating and killing themselves with the BIOS update. Again, do this at your own risk. Don't blame me if you screw this up, but this is something to think about. When you've got cards that just have very low fan RPMs, you can flash them with a different BIOS that has a faster fan RPM. So it's not the fan itself that's limiting it, it's the BIOS, how they have it set up from the factory. So thanks for hanging out today, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Later.